IGN just dropped 17 minutes of Chrono Odyssey gameplay, going over some of the features that you will find in the game itself, and man, this is getting me more and more hyped over time, the more we see about this game. Now, I'm starting with some of the biggest things here. A lot of you have commented saying that this game has no PvP and you won't play it if it doesn't have some sort of PvP system. That is completely false information, as this video shows. PvP zones are a thing which sound like they just auto-flag you as you enter them, but they do have some safe zones within them, and within these zones you can take on other players who are also within these areas. So players looking for their fix on fighting others, well, this will be a good place for it. In this IGN video, the details were very limited on what there is to do in these zones besides fight other players, but I imagine it's filled with various other world features such as gathering and labyrinths and world bosses and that sort of thing. There's also been talks about a PvP toggle system, which I think you can tell up in the top left-hand corner of the video. This could just be an indication of which type of zone they are in though, so it's really hard to say. I don't think I've really seen any confirmation on this other than speculation on what that is up in the top left corner. But the biggest one for me though is there is also what they are calling Eden. Eden is an area that lore-wise exists beyond space and time, and is basically an endless dungeon that can be done solo or with other players. This isn't your typical endless dungeon though. This has a play on extraction mechanics. Basically, when you enter this area, a timer starts and you only have so much time you can be in this area before it pulls you out. You then begin your farm to get as much loot as possible. This loot though seems like it can be dropped upon death. The only way to keep your loot is to make it out of Eden before the timer runs out. And yes, there is PvP in here as well. Other players can kill you and get your loot if you don't make it out. This is a system that honestly seems like it could be a ton of fun in an MMORPG world, but it's not exactly a new thing, as we've seen extraction systems like this before in games like The Division 2, which just really reminds me of a fantasy twist on the Dark Zone. But regardless, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I really can't wait to get into this, and I hope it's part of the CBT. PvP though wasn't the only part of this IGN video. As we go through the PvE content, we learn that dungeons are a thing, which seem like your typical small group adventure, going in with some friends, taking on enemies, and getting loot. There's also interactable environments in these dungeons, such as destructible gates and torches that you can light. Time portals are another system that seem more of a lore thing than anything. They take you into different timelines, past and future of the existing world, and have you clearing out mobs to get loot. There is also guardians, which are said to be large-scale boss battles that can have you hacking away at different parts of enemies to disable them, along with providing a unique and engaging skill-based encounter for each boss. The Void Nexus are these portals that seem to be pretty similar to New World's Corrupted Breaches, where you go in, take on waves of enemies until you manage to close the Void Nexus. There are regional bosses, which show off a party of 5 on screen taking these guys on. Labyrinths, which are these massive puzzle dungeons that seem to have a puzzle-first focus and actually look like they're extremely challenging in some contexts and would be pretty fun for a solo player. There are trials, which also seem to be pretty similar to the Labyrinth system, but with a more PvE focus, having you take on different challenging boss fights with a lesser amount of puzzles. There's bounty hunting, which has you hunting down NPCs, and the more you hunt down, the harder the challenge gets. Chrono gates, which are these more fast-paced 1v1 boss encounters, which you can then capture the souls of the bosses when defeating them, and then summon them out in the world with what is called your chronotector. This chronotector also appears to have its own skill tree and allows you to control time and space with its abilities, doing things such as giving you slow fall, time stopping enemies, or even giving you in dazed AoE. For a more casual experience, there's what they call life skills, which are basically just gathering, processing, and crafting professions, with fishing confirmed. There's also an entire questing system and dynamic world events that you can jump into. What I don't see though is a reason for this to be called an MMORPG. Yeah, it could just be the test footage, but it seems like everything is built around small scale and solo encounters. There are guild systems in the game, but guilds are said to be a more social feature than anything. And honestly, I'm fine with smaller scale group encounters if the world feels populated. I don't want another MMO that isn't actually filled with tons of players. That's part of the MMO experience, is interacting with players, and there's been confirmation that there will be an auction house, and there will not be player trading to prevent some RMT issues and things like that. So it sounds like there is going to be a pretty robust population out in the world, but we haven't seen that yet, and in the latest interview with a creator named Canon, this was actually asked if this game was an MMO, and they state that it's very much an open world MMORPG, meaning it's seamless, no loading screens, but then goes on to state that you can think of it as a game designed to preserve those enjoyable multiplayer experiences while incorporating ways to reduce the fatigue typically associated with traditional MMOs. So I don't really know what to take of this because it sounds like he avoids the question, but we'll have to wait and see. This, though, is probably my only concern at this point. After seeing this 17 minutes of gameplay and having them confirm multiple times that it won't be pay to win, I'm now very excited for this upcoming CBT to see what the game actually has to offer, where hopefully the question of, is this truly an MMORPG, will be answered. But like all MMOs coming out, go in skeptical so you don't become extremely disappointed when the game launches and it doesn't meet your expectations, because the MMO genre as a whole, as you know, is kinda lacking. Anyway, stock up on some rogue energy before the Chrono Odyssey CBT, where you can get 20% off using code RICHIESH at checkout. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and be sure to stay tuned for a lot more to come.